Hey, they saved the best for last. We are here. We're going to talk about Azure SQL Data Warehouse, and we are talking about the Data Platform Studio. God, I love this stuff. I'm so excited. I'm not kidding. This is the coolest bit of technology. So let's talk about it. We want to talk about Azure SQL Data Warehouse and what it represents, because the opportunities here are amazing. I think it's going to be a ground changer. I really do. We're also going to talk about what problems it causes, and we're going to talk about a solution to the problems. So we're going to help. I promise. We are going to help. Seriously. So my name is Grant Fritchey. I work for Redgate Software. This is my contact information. You want to talk about any of the Redgate tools. You want to talk about Azure SQL Data Warehouse, Azure SQL Database, Azure. You want to talk about SQL Server or anything, get in touch with me. I want to help you out. That's my goal in life, is to help out. This is Ali Parker.
He's changed it again.
I did.
Yeah, I've gone back. That's not me. You might recognize him from elsewhere. Anyway, I am Ali Parker. I'm one of the engineers on the Data Platform Studio team. Here's my contact details. If you want to follow up on any of this stuff after today, do just get in contact and I'll be there to help you out. Unless it's Christmas, in which case I might not be, but I'll do my best.
Don't send me emails on the 25th either, and I might not respond. All right, so the analytics platform system. It's cool.
There she blows.
Yeah, it looks big.
Yeah.
So what is this? Analytics platform system, APS. This is a massive parallel system. This is literally throwing hardware at the problem. This is frankly amazing stuff. What it is an infrastructure that allows you to build a database, SQL Server database, tables, columns, all that fun stuff that you know, and it looks like a database. But underneath is not a server. Underneath is this
thing.
Yeah.
You're throwing tons of compute at the age-old problem. You're not having to shard your data anymore. You're not having to split stuff up and run queries. It's doing all that magic for you.
Yeah, well, mostly.
Mostly.
We'll talk about that. But it's cool. I mean, it's amazing. Let's just talk about some of the details around it. So the Azure APS is a massive parallel computing platform. We already mentioned that. I mean, we just can't emphasize enough. This is talking about throwing lots and lots and lots and lots of hardware at your problems, especially your analytics style problems. You got to split the data up in all these different weird structures. It's not relational.
So it's fine. It's one of those things where you've got these ad hoc queries coming in the whole time. You can't optimize the schema to always produce your queries in nice, quick times. So you can use this and leverage this to get those ad hoc queries coming out super quick. So you can follow that train of thought to
Yeah, absolutely.
To its end.
And because you can just keep throwing hardware at it, it scales out. I mean, it's an automatic scale out because, again, as far as you know, there is a database and a table. But underneath, there are lots and lots and lots of hardware. I mean, just more.
Yeah.
So you can continually scale out as you go. Multi-terabyte data warehousing. This is for the big boys, right? If you got like a 100 gig data warehouse, this might not be for you. Well, flat out, it isn't. But
that's not to say it can't help in those situations too. It's just there's no way you're going to get that past the boss.
No.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. Are we giggling too much? The best part about not the best part about this, but one of the best parts about this is also the Polybase query support. The whole concept is that you can query outside of SQL Server, in addition to SQL Server. I mean, this is SQL Server. It is what you're used to. Remember, again, a table, columns, all that fun stuff. But you can also query into Hadoop. You can query into text files. You can actually run queries against external sources. You got anything you want to say about that one?
Well, it just presents your data just like a table. It gives you all that friendly SQL access that you're so familiar with, but sticks it against those Hadoop clusters.
Right. So it's non-structured, unstructured, semi-structured data that you can run a query against. I mean, raise your hand if you're using T-SQL. Anybody? Yeah. Cool. And every bit of this is based on SQL Server. So I mean, if you're familiar with T-SQL,
that's it. I mean, if you're not used to Hadoop, you're from that SQL Server world. I mean, it gives you that power, but in a SQL Server shaped box.
Right. So why are we here talking about the Azure SQL Data Warehouse? Because we got the APS. I mean, it's the APS. That's all we need. Oh, right.
Oh.
Yeah, I forgot about that part. Yeah, it's only 1.2 million pounds to start. Hang on, I get that someplace.
Yeah, I think we've got an expense limit of 1.3, so
Oh, okay,
I think
yeah,
we
we're
could just
under
get
it.
that
Yeah,
through.
yeah.
Yeah, we're fine.
Okay, not a problem. Yeah, no, they don't trust us that much.
No.
We're at 1. No, I'm kidding. They don't trust us that much at all. No, this is the start. 1.2 million pounds to start. 456,000 pounds a year operating costs.
Yep.
You must buy this to learn it.
Well, unless you can beg, borrow, or steal, right? I mean, if you know somebody who's got it.
Didn't we establish yesterday that stealing was wrong?
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so beg or borrow.
Beg or borrow.
Don't steal.
Find a friend.
Find a friend. Make a friend.
Make a friend.
You can't learn it any other way. You have to have the hardware in order to learn it on. So there's not any way that you can pick this up and run with it. Same thing if you want to test it out in your environment. If you think, hey, we've got a terabyte and a half, a 3 terabyte, 10 terabyte data warehouse.
Well, if you want to kick the tires,
Yeah,
you're not going to be able to unless you
1.2 million.
stump up. Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, these annual operating costs and stuff, that's all licensing fees. That does not include air conditioning, power, power breaks. No, wait.
You're cooling. You have to house this thing.
You have to have the cooling.
to-
You've got to have the housing. How many units did you say it was?
I think it's 40U, so it's pretty full on.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So it's going to take up a little small chunk of your data warehouse, not your data warehouse, your server area. So yes, this is expensive. So why are we excited about Azure SQL Data Warehouse? Because Azure SQL Data Warehouse is a platform as a service offering of
APS.
Right? It's APS as a platform. So you're no longer paying these exorbitant fees to get in, right? There's the entry fee is 0, really.
Yeah. You just set it up.
Yeah.
Especially if you use the free trial, which is currently available until 31st.
Yeah, you have to sign up by
December 31st.
What month is it? By December 31st, you have to sign up. There's a free trial going on right now from Microsoft. This has nothing to do with Redgate. But there's a free trial for Azure SQL Data Warehouse until December 31st. If you're interested in this, get online, sign up now. I don't know how long it extends past the 31st.
I think it's
But the
30 days from when you
30,
sign up.
30 days from when you sign up. Okay, so yeah, great. So you've got until the 31st to sign up, but then you got 30 days to play with it. That's cool. So you only pay for what you use, and you only pay for it when you use it. You get to turn it on and off.
This is a cool part. I mean, the way we're using it, the way we're testing, we shut down all our dev and test systems overnight. So we're not paying for them when we're not in the office.
Right.
And when we need them, we bring them up and we run our tests against them, and it's all just there. It just
Great.
takes a few seconds to bring up and pull down.
That's cool. So the costs then, depending on how much you use, it's either 684 pounds up to 41,000 pounds a month. So that's considerably less per year. We're talking either 8,000 pounds a year or 492,000 pounds a year. That's, half.
Yeah, less than half, I suppose. And that's running 24/7 too.
Right.
So if you're shutting this thing down, I mean, it's not even going to cost you that. So
right, and it does depend on which DWU data warehouse unit you use, and you do have to pay for storage. But storage it's not free. Nothing's free. TAN staff always applies, but it's darn near free. So
yeah. It's on the premium storage tier though, so it does get a little bit more expensive there,
True.
but it's still storage. Relatively speaking, it's cheaper than the compute.
Right, so Azure SQL Data Warehouse, platform as a service offering of APS. This is exciting stuff. I mean, this is why I think it's a game changer, because APS is, the whole parallel platform thing. I forgot to go to the next slide. APS for less money, right? It's APS, but it's less money, and we've got it online. It gives us the ability to do testing. We don't have to, not that we would steal, beg, borrow, or steal.
Yeah, exactly.
To get access to it. We can get in there and start doing testing. We can train, we can learn this goofy thing. We're not simply relying upon what else is going on. We can actually train with it. We can pick up this information and learn it.
Exactly. Spin up a test environment if you want it, just to play with it. You don't have to mess your production environment up or anything like that.
Right. And you're not outlaying 1.2 million pounds. And then you've got the massive parallel architecture. This is a gigantic game changer. This is throwing hardware at those kinds of analytics problems that you run into. Aggregations are hard. aggregations are difficult. I mean, you guys know you run group by on your standard SQL Server. It's not easy, but you run a group by on this, and boy, is it easy. It's pretty amazing. I mean, just that whole thing of like that, the number of servers underneath and all of that stuff running. I mean, it's just, it's mind-boggling.
I mean, the key thing about it is that you don't need to know up front the kinds of questions you're going to be asking, because this thing will be able to burn through using all that compute and just give you the answer.
Exactly.
That's the key thing here.
And I hit the button. Right. I knew it was there. I'm just waiting for it to come up. And Polybase. Remember, we've got Polybase underneath, so we can query Hadoop. We can go after that non-structured data. We can query text files. I mean, I find that just...
It's exciting, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I'm a nerd. What can I say? I mean, I get excited about this stuff. And did we mention less money? You know, now how much would you pay, right? Well, less. That's how much you would pay.
Every time.
Every time. That's right. All right. So how does it work?
Well, here you go. So this is kind of a little visual representation of what's going on underneath. Right at the top, you can see there's that kind of single SQL server. That's a sort of virtual SQL server there. But what's happening underneath, all the magic is happening in that APS layer, because underneath that, you've actually got 60 individual servers. So every one of your well, there's only 3 there. Imagine each one is 20. It'll be fine.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Okay. The 20 are behind that one, so yeah,
okay.
So what's happening there, every single table that you create gets split across all these servers. So when you run a group by, you're actually only grouping a 60th of your table on each server. Then what happens is that goes up to the APS layer, it gets all combined again and pulled back into your single SQL server. So as far as you know, as far as your application knows, any of your standard visualization tools, if you're using Power Pivot or whatever, I mean, Power BI, they just see one table. It doesn't you don't need to worry about re-aggregating those results. But the really cool part is right down at the bottom, where we can query our blob storage. This is the quickest way of getting your data into Azure SQL Data Warehouse.
Don't get ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
we got stuff to come.
I think this is the coolest bit.
Okay, but yeah, it is great, and it is the whole geo-redundant storage, so that we've got stuff stored in different, like what locations?
Yeah, different geographical locations. It gives you that backup. It gives you that security.
That's what geo means. I thought it was like rocks. No, I'm kidding. I know it means. It's a joke.
See what I have to deal with.
So the table architecture on this thing is pretty interesting, because what's going on is it's a clustered column store by default. Underneath, I mean, you can force it to go to a heap if you want to. If you're feeling mentally disturbed, you could try to make it not work well. But by default, it's a clustered column store, and each table, quotes around it, it's 60 different tables.
Yeah, it's broken down. So you can actually distribute it in different ways. You can choose the best distribution key that you want.
Right.
So if you want to choose something really, what you want to do is choose something that splits your table up really evenly amongst those.
Right.
So I mean, maybe by product or something like that would be a great idea, or that kind of thing. So you choose how to split it, or if you're not sure, you can just use a round robin approach. So at least it splits it up evenly across all those tables.
Right. And you can make those choices on how when you design the tables, you can design how you want it to load, how you'd like it to come in.
Exactly, you can really optimize that down.
Excellent. And then of course, because it's column store, it's compressed. So that means it's doing a lot less. And then it has a delta store that allows you to, the changes get written out to someplace else until you get a certain number of changes, and then they get written back into the column store.
Yeah, that's right. So it gives you still gives you that quick ability to get data into the warehouse without having to completely rebuild your column store every single time.
Excellent. Cool. So that's the basic architecture. So this is really thrilling stuff. I mean, we can't emphasize that enough, because we're going to start saying some bad things about it now. So I want to emphasize that this is thrilling, okay? We're very excited about it. And I mean, the reason we built the tool is because we're so excited about it. But, there is a but, okay? So let's just get that up front. There are problems, okay? First off, not that it's a problem, it's Azure. So it's,
it's unfamiliar maybe. Maybe you've not gone there yet, but this is a really good reason to go to Azure in the first place.
God knows. However, Azure is stored next door?
No, it's a bit further away than that.
Okay.
Although they have just released those new private pipes today, right? Private internet pipes.
Yeah, there are private internet pipes you can pay for to get directly to it. but it's not your machine, right? It's stored someplace else. As someone put it, the cloud is someone else's server. Okay, I think that's unfair, however accurate it is, but it's the cloud. So it's stored elsewhere. So you are going to take that into account. It's Azure, so that's where it's going to be. It's also a platform as a service.
Which again can be unfamiliar, something that you're not used to, having to manage those kind of credit card spend. You don't know how much is going to come out every month. You know, it can be quite difficult together.
Sure, absolutely. And also just the concept that, you've got a database. You don't have an instance.
A server, yeah.
With the agent and, all these things that we're used to having all stacked up right there inside of SQL Server. In SQL Server land, this is slightly different, right? It's a platform as a service. It is SQL Server, yes. But
apart from when it's not.
Yeah, there's parts that are not quite SQL Server. So as much as you're used to create table and column data types of varchar and all that fun stuff, it's a little different, and we're going to go over some of the details there. First off, though, is the issue with data migration. It's challenging. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's a good way to put it. We have Azure Data Factory.
We have 100 different ways to load the data in.
Well, yeah, we do. We have hundreds of different ways, but there's a few. There's a few that are recommended. Azure Data Factory.
It's great. It's up and coming. It's getting better and better. But still,
nice.
We're relying on those JSON files and trying to put that together. And when you just want to kick the tires of this warehouse, having to jump through a dozen hoops of new technologies.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a barrier to entry.
He's being sweet. I love SQL Data Warehouse. I do not love Azure Data Factory. Wow. This is a nightmare. That's what I'm going to say. And it's not just because of JSON. It's all the stuff around it. And how's the performance on the Azure Data Factory?
I couldn't tell you. I've never done anything particularly chunky with it.
Okay, well, I've never successfully done anything chunky with it. But let me tell you this. It's not good. It's pretty rocky. So let's go to the tried and true, SSIS.
Solid as a rock.
Solid as a rock, and about as streamlined as one, yes?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, okay. So SSIS, it's pretty. We've got the nice little symbols. We've got the green lines and the red lines, and everything works. It is the single slowest one tested, and that's according to Microsoft's numbers, not mine. Microsoft says this is the slowest way to do it.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're not doing that. BCP.
Age-old classic tool.
Yes.
Super fast. Doesn't go faster than that, right?
No, nothing's faster than BCP.
As long as you've got another 10 terabytes of space to BCP out to before you start uploading that thing.
Yeah, okay.
And really, you'd kind of want to zip it up as well before you send it up, rather than send up the 10 terabytes. But how long is that going to take? Back to back?
I don't know, a little while.
Yeah, a little while.
Okay.
So maybe
you're starting to make me depressed.
Oh, come on.
Can I BCP up anyway? What if I just BCP up?
I wouldn't recommend it.
No?
I don't think that's going to work.
Okay. Nuts. All right.
Okay.
So BCP is kind of off the track. Hey, Polybase.
Polybase.
How's Polybase work?
Polybase is great. The reason being, it knows about that architecture underneath. Whereas integration services is going to see a single server there,
right,
and just hit that one guy,
right,
and then have to delegate down. What Polybase is going to do is going to say, well, I know there's 60 servers underneath, so I'm going to talk to each one of those and start pushing those things in and take advantage of that compute.
All right, so Polybase is our baby. So we're kind of narrowed it down. Polybase, and it's easy, yeah?
Once you've got it configured and maybe you've got your date formats right and you've got rid of those stray column delimiters.
Oh, God. Okay, hang on. Let's talk about that again.
Well,
we'll talk about that some more in a minute. You're making my head hurt.
No.
All right, so what else is unsupported? A couple of things. Identity. Nobody uses that anyway. Primary keys. Okay, I'm a DBA. Primary key. Primary key.
Yeah, they're quite useful, but I suppose you could use unique indexes or something instead. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the reason primary keys aren't there, it doesn't really make so much sense anymore in the data warehouse world, but it's still unfamiliar and feels a bit uncomfortable, right?
Okay. But we are storing as a clustered column store.
Yeah.
So we're actually, the data is pivoted anyway, so we're not necessarily and we're worried about the distribution across the 60 nodes.
That's the key thing. That's the key thing.
Okay, so suddenly it's like it's not that big a deal that primary keys are missing. It's not that big a deal that identity maybe that might be useful. But even that, are you going to want to distribute across identity columns like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
No, probably not.
Because then it's just round robining.
Yeah, you might as well just round robin it.
Yeah. So some of this stuff, it's not that big a deal that it's not there. Computed columns. Okay, well, maybe that's a heart stopper for some people. But hey, compute the column ahead of time.
Yeah, I mean, materialize it.
Materialize it. We're storing it up there. No big deal. User-defined types. Man, that's not a bug. That's a feature. Man, that's great. They pulled that off there. Some of the other stuff, triggers. It's like, okay, we can live without these things. I mean, it's not like the end of the world.
But that horrible one down at the bottom, the data type incompatibilities.
Yeah, that masks a lot of sins, doesn't it?
It's got better. It has got better. There's much better coverage now. I mean,
right.
You've got some of those synonyms back, but there's still some hoops you need to jump through.
Right. So here's the Polybase process. It's not hard. It's not hard at all. We've got it all laid out for you, so you can do it. So you're going to create an Azure SQL Data Warehouse database. That's
step one. That's pretty easy. New.
Yeah. There's a GUI, or you can make PowerShell command.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So it's nice and simple. Then you just got to validate all the structures because there's all those things that you can't move and the data types that you can't move and
exactly.
Okay. All right. Then you export the structures. That's great. Import the structures. Okay. I basically got that. Export the data. But we have to worry about data types still, right?
Yeah, so you still have to sort out some of those things. It's not going to do your varchar maxes and that kind of stuff.
Oh, great. Okay. And then what's this? Why is there
UTF-8? Well, because we're using Polybase to get the data in, and that's relying on Hadoop underneath, and well, Hadoop only uses UTF-8. But if you're BCPing, it's going to stick it out in UTF-16. It's going to trip you up.
Oh God. Okay,
and
fine.
The best part is you'll wait till you get your data up there.
Yeah.
It's just not going to work.
Okay, cool. Now we move it up.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Bam. We cut his pay. So now we move it up. That's easy. Yeah.
Well, we can use AZ copy. That'll get up there eventually.
Yeah. Set up the certificates. There's scripts online. That's easy. I know that one's easy.
Yeah, it's pretty
Okay, cool. That's easy. We've got one. All right. Connect up Polybase.
Yeah. It's.
Oh, did you see his face?
It took us quite a few goes to get that right the first few times.
Okay. And then run the import, which is basically run a select statement against Polybase and
exactly.
insert, and then it says when with a question mark.
Yeah, because what you'll find out is you've got to go through this whole process. Get your data up there, get it exported first, obviously, upload it all, try the import before you see that it doesn't work. You've got some stray delimiters or UTF-16 or just one of those things.
So if it takes me like 6 hours to do the data upload to Azure and I fail,
you've got to extract again, do your 6 hours again, and then hopefully you win.
Okay, you're depressing me. So here's the situation we find ourselves in. If you get it to work, you're going to be like the cat here.
I love this cat.
You'll have found your way to the door, but you'll have no idea how you got there, right? And you'll have no idea if you could do this again, right? It's an interesting moment in time. You've made it, but now what? Here's the now what. We've got a new tool that we're looking at. It's Azure. God, I almost said it wrong.
It's a hosted application. It's Data Platform Studio.
Data Platform Studio. Oh my God. Wow, long day. By the way, I demoed this in Norway and I forgot what the name was. I couldn't remember. just sharing, oversharing like I do. Go ahead.
So now whose pay is going to be docked? Is it
no, it's mine now. Yeah.
There we go. So this is Data Platform Studio and I'm going to give you a quick demo.
Excellent. Oh, a demo. Look at that. There's a demo slide.
There you go.
Cool. I'll step out of the way.
Cool. So, I'm just going to my machine here. Here we are. So, this is the Azure portal. Now, I've selected my data warehouse, and what you'll find here is we've got this load data button on the left-hand side in the settings. And you'll see that in there is Redgate Data Platform Studio. We're baked right into the portal. We've worked super closely with Microsoft and the engineers on the data warehouse team. And we're in the privileged position to actually have our link right there. So I can click on that and it's going to take us straight through to Data Platform Studio. Now I'm just going to log in with my normal Azure credentials. And there we go. And I'll be presented with this screen offering to allow me to do a new import. So I'm going to start my new import. And the first step of doing an import is to create a gateway. If you've used something like Power BI before, you'll be familiar with this concept. It's essentially a very small application that you download onto your local network, install it on one of your machines so that your on-premises databases can be seen by the cloud. Now I'm going to go ahead, click that and download it. So this gateway is actually fingerprinted to your user account. So it can only be used by you and it's completely encrypted. The mouse works. Bear with me a second. So I'm just going to go ahead and install that. So click Next. And this will just take a second to install. And what we'll see in the background is Data Platform Studio is waiting for it to log in and connect up, and we can see that it's connected up to the cloud there. We can see who installed it and the IP of the machine that it was installed on, so I can be really sure that it's my gateway that's been installed and connected up. Now the next step is to select the on-premises database that I want to pull up into the cloud. So I'm going to choose my server, and that's going to go away and get the list of databases on there. If I wanted to connect using SQL authentication, I could too. So I'm going to choose my database, and that is there. And it's going to go and check that all the permissions are set up, so we'll be able to extract your schema and upload your data. We've listed the tables, so we know that quite often you've got large audit or log tables that you don't really want to send up to the cloud, so you can unselect those, but I'm going to send everything up this time. And the next step is to choose my blob storage account. Now you might be thinking, why aren't we selecting a data warehouse at this point? Well, that's because we're going to take advantage of Polybase to get your data in. And that intermediate step is that we upload your data into your blob storage account and then hook up Polybase to pull it into your data warehouse as quickly and easily as possible. So I'm going to choose my storage account, and now I'm going to select my warehouse. So here we go. I'm just going to start that up, and that'll be with us in just a second. So whilst I'm just waiting for this to start up, I'll tell you a little more about what's going to happen underneath here. So what we'll do is we'll extract your schema and apply any compatibility changes that we need to. For instance, changing XML types to varchar types, fixing any issues with GUIDs that are there. So sometimes in Polybase, it's not quite 100% compatible with all the data types that you have in Data Warehouse. So you need to kind of jump through a few hoops and do a little bit of magic to get it up and working. We will also get around another couple of limitations in Polybase that are there too. So for instance, it doesn't support tables wider than 32 kilobytes. So what we do is we actually split it up and pull it all back together. So as far as you're concerned, it looks exactly as you'd expect it to. But we've fixed those issues for you. So it seems to be taking a while for my data warehouse to spin up, Grant.
Okay. You want to turn me back on?
Yeah, let's flip back on, wait for that to load up, and we'll come back to it in a mo.
Okay, cool. Back over to here. Oops. Wow. Everything goes south. Awesome.
Guaranteed. Just whenever I'm involved, essentially, isn't it? You can guarantee it.
So cool. So okay. So the demo went a little bit rocky. Believe me, I've had it happen before. It's not the end of the world. But the interesting thing is that you know the god awful red thing of flowing around all these data types all over the place. We've cleaned all that out. I mean, so we're fixing the data type issues.
Yep.
We're fixing any kind of you know if there's an extra comma in there, we're cleaning that stuff up.
Yeah, getting rid of those extra row lines and all that kind of thing.
So when you know Azure SQL Data Warehouse is actually online, and when it's actually online and we're connecting up to it, what we're getting is a single pass upload.
Yeah, that's right. And this is completely born out of our experience at Redgate of trying to use these tools.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, because it's worth talking about how we got started on this whole project. This is we were looking at Azure SQL Data Warehouse, and it was just kind of like,
They might be able to help us out.
yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, well, so like for instance, one of our product managers, Elizabeth, was doing some ad hoc querying against our product usage data, trying to see how people are using the tools essentially, and she was trying to do some ad hoc querying,
Right.
see how it's going, but these queries were taking up to an hour to come back.
Right.
So we asked the BI team to see if they could use Data Warehouse to make this thing go faster, and well, it did. I mean, these queries went down from like an hour to 20 seconds.
Yeah, but before they got these really cool queries that were running in 20 seconds, they had to go through the process of getting the data up into Azure SQL Data Warehouse.
Which took almost 2 weeks.
It took them almost 2 weeks. Now, I got involved with it after they were in this 2-week process, and I'm going, there's no way it's taking this long. Somebody's an idiot. I'm going to do it. I'll fix it. Yeah, not so much. They actually gave me a thing, a checklist. Here's how we're getting the uploads done. So I actually had a starting point, and it took me 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah, and
It was horrible.
and even after I talked to the BI team, I went away and tried to do it as well because I had exactly the same thought. It still took me a few days to get it
Right.
done.
It was really hard.
quite hard.
It was really hard. And it's no lie. There were a lot of manual steps involved. Now the only thing I will say in my defense is I at least had the wherewithal to do it all in PowerShell. So every time I had to
Right.
reset, all I would do is just go back to 0, add another little bit of PowerShell command,
Hit go.
hit go.
Yeah, I wasn't quite that clever, unfortunately, but never mind.
So it was hard. You want to
yeah,
take
yeah.
a
Let's
look, see
just
if
pop
it's-
back. I'll do that. So it should be up and running by now.
It only takes a couple of minutes. It's actually pretty quick. We're moving a small
Yeah.
data set because of the.
Woohoo! So it says online,
It's
so we can
online,
actually
yay,
go ahead.
okay,
So here
cool.
we go. This time we'll do it once again with feeling. And what we're doing here, we're actually testing a few things. We're making sure that we can connect to the warehouse. We're making sure all the firewall rules are set up and everything's configured and ready to go. And now I'm going to go ahead and start my import. Now, this is a pretty trivial data set. It's only 100 or so megabytes, 140 megabytes. But in reality, we're set up for much bigger data sets. We're doing terabytes of data at a time.
Right, and we're
You
all,
know?
and again, remember we got to this by going directly to Azure and to the Azure SQL Data Warehouse. We are already incorporated into Azure. We've got Microsoft support. We're working directly with Microsoft.
Directly with the engineering team who are
Right.
working on data warehouse. I mean, that's the key thing. Now, in reality, you would see the upload and the import happening in parallel. It's just because this is
Yeah.
so small and
It's going to do one, then it does the other.
exactly, and our bandwidth is so wide here that it's just going straight up. So what we're doing here is we're actually configuring Polybase. We're setting up all those delimiters. We're setting up the date time formats, all those kind of things, taking care
Right.
of that. And as before, like I said, there's a few limitations in Polybase still that are getting better and they're getting fixed, but there's still some hoops you have to jump through with your wide tables, etc.
Right.
And
There it goes.
GUIDs as well. I mean, that
Yeah,
was one that
yeah,
really
yeah.
caught us out. It was really tricky. So Data Warehouse supports GUIDs, so does SQL Server, obviously, but Polybase is still a bit shaky on that. So you've got to go through a couple of like different binary formats to get that thing in and cast it out and cast it in before you can actually get your data up there.
I
in
just
the first
dropped those
place.
columns. It was,
Well,
it
it's
was a
not,
lot easier when you drop those columns.
it's not like anybody's using them to, uniquely
Yeah, yeah,
identify
no.
rows or anything like that.
Oh, well, yeah, there is that.
Yeah, but yeah. So we do a bit of that. So this is all happening in parallel. We're taking your data from each of your tables. We've split them up into individual zip files, so you don't actually have to upload 140 megs. You're only uploading maybe 70% of that.
Right.
And then we're splitting it into individual files as well. So the magic number 60 that we've heard
60.
earlier.
Yeah, we're
you
splitting it across those files.
Split it into 60 different files means that it's one file per server underneath and it's all going in as quickly as you possibly can get it in.
Excellent.
And what we'll see right at the end is it's just about to finish up any moment now, and there's a little change report. So you know what we've had to change. We're going to tell you that, there's spatial types, hierarchies and images, they've actually been changed to var binaries. We've truncated some of your long columns because the smaller they are, the better in your column store database. We've fixed sysnames, etc. XML types as well. we're telling you all about that.
Right. So we did a data cleanup, but we're documenting the data cleanup that we did.
And I think one of the best things here is this little button down in the bottom right. If you have any questions, if you're stuck, you don't know where to start or anything like that, just click there and my team's right there. You know, there's Johnny, he's a UX designer, there's Tom, he's my boss. I mean, I'll be there. You type in, it will be me or one of my guys, or one of the guys that will reply to you.
On December 25th, when I click on this, though.
Okay, well, it's going to ping on my phone. I can't guarantee I'm going to come back to you, but I'll do my best.
Okay, cool.
One too many eggnogs, it might not be a good idea, right?
Yeah, no kidding. I don't want you to fix it right
So that's
then.
us. So I'll come back out.
Excellent. All right, so that's Data Platform Studio. Hopefully we hit the goals. I mean, we've talked about the excitement that represents Azure SQL Data Warehouse. I mean, because it's APS on the cheap. I mean, it's kind of hard to. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. There are some issues around it. I mean, not showstoppers, but just challenges, right? Some challenges. But we've got a solution to those challenges.
Yeah, and the best part is it's free. So Data Platform Studio is completely free. If you go to dataplatformstudio.com, you'll be able to go in and try it out today. Or if you've already got a data warehouse in Azure, click in the portal, choose Load Data, and you'll find us right there.
Right. Also, by the way, if you go to Channel 9, Microsoft's training platform, we've actually got videos demoing this with the Microsoft guys.
Yeah.
So the engineers from Microsoft work with us on the Data Platform Studio. So we've got stuff on Channel 9 you can check out as well. So hopefully you guys you're getting as excited about this as I am. I'm telling you, if you've got large-scale data warehouses, and by large I mean half terabyte and up, certainly terabytes or more, this will absolutely modify how you do your work. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like we said, we couldn't believe it when it took these queries that are going from well over an hour down to seconds.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it was great. It was just great.
I wouldn't exclude anybody under 500 either. I mean,
really?
Depending on your schema, you don't have to go through that step of turning it into a nice star schema to do your queries. You can just chuck it up there and in the normal shape and it will just do it. So
okay. Oh, cool. That's great.
It's worth a go.
Yeah, I mean, and again, you pay only for what you use and you only pay for it when you use it, and then other than that, you pay for storage.
And that's it.
It's pretty cool. All right.
Great.
And that was it, right?
That's us.
Okay, and we are out.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah, thank you very much.